Well, come along and sing this song. Don't just stand there a-wishing. Welcome you to join the crew at Max More Fishing. You get more with Max for sure. If you'll just take a listen, you'll see how fun it can be at Max More Fishing. Yeah. So silly.
Good morning, guys. It is 9:30 a.m. I am going to do a one-day build to catch challenge, which means I get a block of wood, draw out my design, and I build a lure and catch a fish with it in one day. Usually this takes 2 to 3 days to build a lure, but I'm going to try to do it in one day. This is going to be pretty cool. Now let's get started. So first off, we're in my shop right now. You'll probably never seen this before, but first off, it's a mess, right? Just, why is this out? I don't know. So I'm gonna clean it up for a little bit, and then we're gonna start this challenge. And there we go. It's a little bit picked up. Should be good though. Okay, so first off, if you're gonna build a lure, pick out your wood and draw out what you want to make. This right here is my little compartment. I've got mahogany and cedar on the bottom ones, and I've just got cedar wood on the top. What I'm gonna go for is a Rattletrap design. So I love a good old-fashioned cedar wood Rattletrap. I like that. I think I'm gonna go with this one. This looks good. Slide that right in. So you can see the nice wood grain. I'm gonna be cutting it that way so the wood grain runs with the bait. It's rough on one side, but we're just gonna sand that down. So now let's draw out our bait. Okay, and for what you need for drawing out your bait, piece of wood, Elmer's glue stick. You need a piece of just paper, blank paper, or it can be written on, just flip it over. You need a pencil or a pen and some skeezers. So first off, all you're gonna do is if you do have a bait you want to trace or have a rough body of, get that out. So I'm not gonna trace this bait completely, but I love this Rattletrap, and you can see the top of it's all cut off from just use. So I'm just gonna kind of get like the belly portion of it. I'm not gonna trace the whole bait out. Okay. So that looks good for me. It's a nice size Rattletrap. Now I'm just gonna take this and just cut it out. A lot of people think that you have to trace the shape with the scissors. No. You just take it and you just cut it to where it's like a rectangle. Just like that. And then you get your Elmer's glue and you see where you want it to run with the grain. Now if you run it like this, the grain's running this way. If you run it like this, potentially, doubt it can happen, but this is super fragile wood, so something could pull it apart. So I always run it with the grain. So then, get where you want it. Now, for what I'm doing, I want something where the grain is super spread out, like over here. So I'm gonna put it right up here, and y'all will see why here in a bit. And there we go. I got my bait glued on the wood. Now it's time to take it over to the bandsaw and cut it out. Okay, guys, we are at the bandsaw. Now, warning, if you are young doing this, make sure you have parental supervision or have somebody cut it out for you. That blade spins really fast and it spins downwards. Do not go near that blade until it is done spinning, because it spins downwards and you can see the teeth are downwards. So you get your hand in there, your hand's going in and down. It can chop your finger off. So what I do First, what I do is I chop this in half. Keep in mind how I have my light centered, so when I am chopping, I can see exactly where everything is. You saw I kept my fingers as far away as I could as possible. And now you can start, and I do not, you would think chop that off, no, because now you have like a little handle to work on. So now you can start going around. Now this is a 1/4 size inch blade on my bandsaw, 59 inches all the way around. And for this, what I always say, cut close, sand it off. So you see, I didn't get on the line. Well, that's why we have the sander. So I'm going to sand it off once we're done with this. I made sure I wait until the blade stops. And you can see I didn't cut even close to the line. So now we're just going to go to the sander, sand it all off. Okay, so now we're gonna give the bait some side shapes. As you can see, it's just like a little block right now. Now, we're gonna give it to where it's all tapered off like that. So for this, I made a little bait. For most of my baits, I made a little piece that's just half, and it just shows me the side. So I just slap that on top like there, and then I can trace it out. Get your pencil or pen back out. I would highly suggest getting a pencil. I just put this little guy on top. Okay, so now you see my bait has some shape on it. Now I'm going to take this to the sander and sand off those edges. So let's do that now. So right here I was not paying attention and I went way past the line, so I'm just going to have to correct it on both sides and sand it off so it's all good. So there you go. Now that is your all blocked out shape. Everything from now on is going to start looking like the actual bait. So we're going to be cutting off those sharp corners, and I'll show you how to do that now. Okay, so now for these sharp corners, what I do is I get my pencil. A pen is a little bit better for this, but I put my finger right up next to the side, and all I do is I just kind of measure it all the way around and kind of tuck it in. So you can see that corner, on that corner, we do it on both sides. So this is just showing where I need to cut off to. So you can see on both sides it has that little piece, and I'm going to cut all the way to that line. And then we're just going to sand it with some hand sandpaper, and that part is the longest part. And that should be all the sides. Now my favorite thing to use for carving these off is a good old X-Acto knife. Now these are super cheap, or you can get the kit like this. They're like 20 bucks at Walmart, and I use the biggest one because you have more leverage and you just stick your thumb there and just kind of push through. Now on this wood, when you're running with the grain, when you're doing it up top, if your knife isn't sharp enough, you can easily just take a huge chunk out. So for that, I use the one where I have the most blades, and I just use the smaller one. And you can see it's a lot sharper. Now, if you don't know what I keep talking about, it pretty much is gonna do this. This is just a random piece of wood. You can see that just flakes off a massive piece. And I just go along there. Now for this, you might see there's still some sharp corners right there. So just take that and kind of make them all flush. It'll make your life so much easier when it comes down to sanding. The better cutting you do, easier it is to go sand. And watch your fingers, because these blades are very, very sharp, and you're putting your finger right on the edge. And if one slip, it can cut you pretty bad. And there we go. Got it all shaped out now. Now we're just gonna put it in a vise and smooth it out. Now the vise I use is just a normal vise, but I took the metal plates off and put wood plates on it. So then I can just stick this in there and it won't dent my bait. So now let's get the sandpaper. I'll show you what sandpaper I use. And there we go. We'll start sanding. So I use this 150 grit. I only had one type of sandpaper to use. I would use the cheapest 150 grit you can get, because as you use it, it starts flaking apart and it starts like sanding it less and less. Instead of having to buy a whole bunch of sandpapers, you just have to buy this one. So what I do, and it has to be the stuff that's flexible. You can see that's not very stiff at all. So then you just wrap it around your bait pretty much and start going for it. And then sometimes it's easier for me to just put it in my hand and sand it like this. And you can already see how that immediately starts taking away that rough edge. Okay, so I'm gonna do this for a little bit, and then I'll get back to y'all guys. Okay guys, so you can see I got it all sanded out. Could probably use a little more, but that's what it's gonna look like. Now, all we're gonna do is add hook hangers, put some lead in it, and then we're going to seal it and then test it out in our donkey trough and see how it works. Okay, so this is where I'm gonna drill my lead and put my hook hanger on the bottom. So I always encase my hook hanger in my lead, so you can see that's where my lead is, and that's also where my hook hanger is. And so that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm actually going to drill all my lead and all my hook hangers now. Okay, so now we are at the drill press. I'm going to drill my lead holes, and then I'm going to put my hook hangers in. So there we go. As you can see, there's lead hole number 1. So there we go. Got all the lead holes drilled. Now I'm going to do the top and the bottom and the other bottom. Okay, so now for drilling the holes, I have this antique drill that I use for drilling my hook eyes. And it's super easy. You just turn the handle and it drills. Okay. Okay, got it. Okay, so for making my line ties and my hook hangers, I have an Allen wrench, or an Allen key, that I bent over like that. Just bent it over past 90. And now I take my wire. I have some wire. I take some dikes, clip it off about 2 or 3 inches. I bend it over, and this just fits right in there. So I put it in my vise. Sorry for such a mess. Then I put this in a drill. Put it on low, and I put it backwards. So now, then you just spin it. Watch out because it gets really hot. And then you've got a line tie that just twists in there. It doesn't need to be completely straight. Just clip this off. Ooh. Okay. Now I'm going to do that 3 more times. It'll be good. Looking good. Now we're just going to seal the wood, put some lead in there, and glue these in. Okay, so you might be thinking, well, Max, if you're not going to paint it, but you say you're going to paint it, how are you going to paint it? One word. Blowtorch. I'm going to do a double-sided bait. It's black on one side and white on the other. So, there we go. Blowtorch and bait. There we go. And now, I got a painted bait. So you can see it's charred on one side. See, yeah, you can see it's charred on that side. It's white on that side. Beautiful. Now I'm just gonna seal it with some lead. But first, I've got to put the hook hangers in. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take some super glue, and I'm going to take the tip of it and just shove it into this hole. Inject it with super glue. And then I'm going to put some super glue on this, on the actual screw eye. Take my pliers, twist it in. And then I'm going to do the same thing to the rest of them. And there we go. They're all put in. Now let's throw some lead on that thing. Okay guys, so for lead, I just have my lead pot, turn it on high so it heats up. You pull that handle up and it drips right out of there. Lead all heated up. You can see that is molten. Do not touch that. And now, you can see if I pull this handle up, starts dripping. I have this wooden thing on there because sometimes it will splatter lead, and you can see that would have been a burnt leg if I didn't have it. There we go. That is fully encapsulated in lead, and we're going to seal it, and then we're going to test it. Okay, here we go. So you might be wondering, well, what are you going to use for sealing this? Ultra thin super glue. So it has to be thin stuff because you want it to penetrate the wood grain. And the cedar wood, it is not very hard. I have latex gloves on, so it will smooth it out evenly and it won't get all over my fingers. So all you gotta do is just put some on there and just rub it in. And you better work quick because these latex gloves, it might eat through the gloves. So yeah, you gotta work pretty quick. Watch the fumes. It smells really bad. It's really bad for you, so I'm not breathing. Turning my head to breathe. And there we go. Now I'm going to take these gloves off before it gets all over me. Make sure you hold this. And there we go. Okay, so we have the rod and the lure on the rod. You can see it sits perfectly. It sits just like a normal rattle trap. It's just nothing special. We're going out to our donkey trough to see how this thing works. Okay, we are at the donkey trough now. You can hear the goats in the background. Oh, wow. This thing has a dramatic action. That's crazy good. Okay, so this thing works amazing, looks good in the water. Let's throw a clear coat on that, take it down to the lake, and catch a fish. Okay guys, so one of the hardest things as a bait maker is knowing what clear coat to use. For my clear coat that I like a lot, it gives a nice shine to it, is Rust-Oleum Painter's Touch Ultra Cover Premium Latex Paint Gloss Clear. So this stuff is really good. It is like crystal clear. Now, whenever you take it out of the can, it is not crystal clear. You can see this is that color. But here's a couple of baits that I have clear coated. That's what it turns out to be. See that shine on it? It looks beautiful. Now for me, when I mix my clear coat up, I just get a bamboo stick and a drill. Okay. And it's all mixed up now. I make these little hooks out of like paper clips. Stick it on, and since it does sink, just drop it in there, pull it out. Do it a couple times so it gets a nice thick clear coat. Since we're probably only gonna have time to do like one, just let it drip for a minute. Then stick it over here. And now all we have to do is wait. Just wait. Okay guys, I got the bait done. It's got the hooks on it and all. See the double-sided? Let's go catch a fish on this thing. Dad and I are on the way to the lake. Stay tuned everybody to see me catch a fish on this bait. It's gonna be awesome. And as always,
You get more with Max for sure if you'll just take a listen. You'll see how fun it can be at Max More Fishing. Yeah.
now
So silly.